Hello, everyone. Today, I'm excited to dive into another crucial topic in our BLoC for Beginners tutorial series. In our last video, we explored standalone BLoC concepts such as streams, blocks, and qubits, laying the groundwork for today's discussion on Flutter BLoC concepts. So, without further delay, let's jump right in. Before delving into Flutter BLoC concepts, it's essential to grasp some fundamental Flutter concepts. These basics are crucial to ensure a smooth understanding of everything we'll cover. So, let's start by addressing a well-known proverb that every Flutter enthusiast has likely heard at least once: everything in Flutter is a widget. If you're familiar with this concept, go ahead and smash that like button. In this video, as we explore Flutter BLoC concepts, it's vital to recognize that every concept we discuss is a widget. Now, let's define what a widget is in the context of Flutter. In Flutter, widgets are essentially classes with their own set of attributes and methods. These classes can be instantiated as objects by specifying the required parameters and methods within their constructors. Let's take the elevated button widget as an example. When examining the elevated button widget, you'll notice various parameters being passed through its constructor, such as style, focus, onPress function, and many more. To explore its details, you can press Ctrl and click on the widget in my IDE, opening a tab containing the elevated button widget. As mentioned earlier, widgets are essentially classes with attributes ranging from primitive types like booleans, strings, doubles, integers, to functions and even other widgets. You might have observed that some widgets have a child parameter. In Flutter, where everything is a widget, these parameters serves as a way for the framework to organize them effectively. Think of it as a means to nest and structure elements, much like a tree. Consider the image of a tree where the top is the root node. Below the root node, you'll see two emerging widgets. These are the children. The upper widget is referred to as the parent widget or ancestor, illustrating how the tree evolves for each widget until there are no more children inside the tree. Now that we understand what a widget is and how Flutter organizes them, it becomes evident that the framework employs a tree structure to efficiently manage and arrange these elements. Let's begin by delving into the fundamental concept of Flutter blocks, specifically focusing on block providers. Before we proceed, it's essential to clarify a point to prevent any confusion. In a previous video, I discussed the distinction between qubits and blocks. However, in this case, there won't be separate providers for blocks and qubits. A qubit is essentially a smaller component of a block, functioning similarly to a block within the context of a block provider. Therefore, the insights shared about Flutter blocks apply equally to both qubits and blocks. Now, consider the scenario after building your first block. The question arises: how do you access it in your UI within Flutter? One might initially think of creating a block object for each widget where it could be beneficial. However, this approach is quite misguided, actually, extremely so. Imagine you have an internet block responsible for managing the app's current state in various network scenarios. Ponder on how many widgets should ideally possess a functioning instance of this internet block. Creating an instance for every widget that requires it is an impractical idea. Instead, the recommended approach is to utilize the BlocProvider widget. The BlocProvider widget is a Flutter widget that creates and supplies a block to all its children. It serves as a form of dependency injection widget, ensuring that a single block instance can be provided to multiple widgets within a subtree. In simpler terms, the entire subtree benefits from a single injected block instance. Consequently, the entire subtree becomes dependent on the block being provided. This mechanism streamlines the management and accessibility of blocks within your Flutter application. Consider this scenario: if we instantiate a block provider with a block at the top, it becomes available throughout the entire subtree beneath it. Conversely, if we instantiate it in the middle of the tree, the block instance is only accessible to nodes below and not above. The BlocProvider creates a single instance of a block using a function that takes the build context as an argument. The build context, as the name implies, represents the context in which a specific widget is constructed. This includes the current widget context, allowing us to instantiate BlocA for all its widgets in the subtree. To access the single instance of BlocA within the subtree, you can use either BlocProvider.of, BlocContext, or the simpler context.block.of, BlocA. A noteworthy optimization technique provided by BlocProvider is its default lazy creation. This means that the create function executes only when the block is looked up via BlocProvider of BlocA context. This prevents the unnecessary creation of blocks when they are not needed within the app. If you wish to override this lazy behavior and force the BlocProvider's create function to run immediately, set lazy to false in the widget's parameters. It's important to note that while BlocProvider is responsible for creating the block, it also automatically closes the block to prevent stream leaks throughout the application. Alright, let's delve into what happens locally when your app is equipped with just a single screen. But what transpires when a new section is added to the existing three? This situation arises when we introduce a new screen using Flutter's navigation routing feature. Now, here's the catch: will BlocA still be accessible in this new scenario? The answer is no, and that's because a new context is created on the new route, unbeknownst to the BlocProvider. To address this, we need to pass the sole instance of BlocA to the new route. How do we achieve this? By utilizing the BlocProvider and assigning the value parameter as the carrier for BlocA. By doing so, we ensure that the instance of BlocA propagates through the subsequent widgets. It's crucial to note that, in this case, the BlocProvider's value won't automatically close the block. Why? Because we still want the block to be reachable in the ancestor tree above. Since we initially instantiated the block with BlocProvider, it will handle the automatic closure. This was a brief introduction to how block can be accessed within Flutter. However, stay tuned for a separate video where I'll delve deeper into accessing blocks across various scenarios. Now, let's walk through an example to ensure a solid understanding of the BlocProvider concept by putting it into practice. We'll begin implementing a default counter app using Flutter and the block. Follow these steps. Start by creating a new Flutter project. You can name it as you wish. Add the necessary dependencies for the Flutter block by including flutter_block in your pubspec.yaml file. Since our counter feature is straightforward, let's kick things off by creating a new directory as Qubit. And inside it create two Dart files as counterqubit.dart, then a counterstate.dart. To do this, we'll focus on a comprehensive and self-explanatory implementation rather than a quick and abstract one. This approach ensures a thorough understanding of the concepts involved. Now open the counterstate.dart file. Modify it to include only the counterstate class. This class will serve as the blueprint for all potential states emitted by the qubit. Given that this class must include the counter value, let's define it and create a constructor. Since the application should always have a valid counter value, annotate it as required. Now, inside the counterqubit.dart file, set the initial state of the counter qubit. This initial state will undoubtedly be a counter state. However, you'll notice an error in VS Code, indicating that the counter value parameter is required. Address this by passing the required parameter inside the constructor. For the initial state of the counter app, let's set the counter value to 0. Now, implement the increment and decrement functions, which will emit new counter states. The increment function will emit a new counter state with a counter value equal to the current counter value plus 1. To access the current state of a qubit, use the state keyword. This will return an instance of the current state of our counter. By utilizing state.counterValue, you can obtain the counter value of the current counter state. The same principle applies to the decrement function. We've successfully created the counter qubit using the knowledge gained in the previous tutorial. Now, let's connect the qubit to the UI using the BlocProvider concept we learned today. In the main.dart file, at the top of the widget tree, we find the Material App widget, which typically marks the starting point for most Flutter apps. To make our counter qubit available throughout the entire app tree, we need to create a BlocProvider at the material app level. Simply select the material app, press Ctrl+Enter to open the dialog, and choose Wrap with Widget, then add the BlocProvider. For the create parameter, use the current context to return a counterqubit instance. Don't forget to import Flutter_BLoC in the import section. What we've done is instruct Flutter to generate a single, unique instance of the counterqubit and make it accessible to the subtree below the material app widget. Now, on our home page, we'll modify the code by adding a row child to the column widget. This row will contain two children, the two floating action buttons responsible for incrementing or decrementing the counter. Recall that, as we started learning about BLoC, for every user interaction with the app, there should be a corresponding state change to inform the user about the ongoing process. Thus, for each tap on these buttons, a new counter state, perhaps the counter value, should be displayed on the screen. To achieve this, we need to call the increment or decrement functions on the qubit instance. To access the qubit instance, use either context.readCounterQubit or context.BlocCounterQubit. Pass the increment or decrement functions to the onPressed parameter of the floating action buttons. This ensures that every button press triggers the qubit's increment or decrement functions, updating the state by adding or subtracting one from the current state. Now the current dilemma revolves around how to efficiently incorporate the new state into the user interface. Specifically, the challenge is to reconstruct the targeted text widget responsible for displaying the counter value. It's time to delve into the second crucial concept in Flutter BLoC, the BlocBuilder. As the name implies, BlocBuilder is a widget designed to facilitate the rebuilding of the UI in response to changes in the block state. This widget acts as the enchanting element responsible for triggering UI reconstruction each time a new state is emitted by either the block or qubit. Understanding that rebuilding a substantial portion of the UI within your app can be computationally intensive, it is advisable to adopt a good practice. This entails encapsulating the precise UI segment requiring reconstruction inside the BlocBuilder. For instance, if you have a text widget that updates based on a sequence of emitted states and is nested within numerous columns, rows, and other widgets, it is a significant mistake to rebuild the entire structure to update just the text widget. Instead, it is recommended to selectively rebuild only the text widget by enveloping it in the BlocBuilder. In terms of syntax, the BlocBuilder is a widget that necessitates a block or qubit and the builder function. The builder function may be called multiple times, owing to the workings of the Flutter engine. It should be a pure function, meaning its return value solely depends on the function's arguments and nothing else. In this scenario, the builder function should return a widget that relies exclusively on the context and state parameters. If the block or qubit is not explicitly provided, the BlocBuilder will automatically seek its instance using BlocProvider and the current build context. For added control over when the BlocBuilder should trigger UI reconstruction, another parameter called buildWhen is available. This parameter takes a function with the previous state and the current state as parameters. For instance, if the current state contains a text value greater than the previous state's text value, you can return false to prevent the builder function from triggering, thereby avoiding unnecessary UI reconstruction. Alright, it's time to integrate BlocBuilder with our counter app example. We've left the app open inside the main.dart file. Now, we want the counter value of the app to be displayed right inside this text widget. To achieve this, let's wrap this specific text widget into a BlocBuilder. Note that you could have wrapped the entire center widget with a BlocBuilder, but that would impact performance since the builder function would rebuild the entire widget tree instead of just the specific part we're interested in, which is the text value. Now, let's dive into the builder function. For every newly emitted counter state, the text widget will display a new value. You can access this value by calling state.counterValue and converting it to a string since we know that the value is an integer. Finally, it's time to test our app, a moment we've been eagerly anticipating for so long. Let's execute this together. When I press the plus button, the counter qubit will compute the updated counter value, emit a new counter state containing that value, and then the user interface will rebuild with the specific value. To illustrate the rebuilding process further, observe how I can manipulate the emitted states. I can verify if the counter value is negative and display a corresponding text widget. Additionally, I can check if the counter value is even and print yay, or confirm if the counter value equals 5 and display number 5 in the UI. I hope you now grasp the potential of streams, states, and blocks. While using blocks might seem a bit excessive for a simple counter app, exploring these concepts on straightforward examples is crucial for understanding their capabilities. Witnessing their power allows you to envision the incredible applications and features you can create using these tools. I trust you comprehend the BlocBuilder concept,